So usually for me, when I start a new instrumental, I just start playing the chords and go with a chord progression that sounds nice and stay usually in the key. Hey guys, welcome to the vlog. I might be today a little slower than usually even. Yeah, basically yesterday I got a Nintendo Switch, started playing Zelda, made it to the studio, breakfast, really proud of myself, still no Nutella, and then just straight into starting a new song from scratch. This part, I had to record it 4 times. Camera off, lens not adjusted, ND filter not adjusted, audio not on. The vlog life struggle. First up, of course, opening your DAW, in my case Logic. And as you might be able to see here, it says loading 217, that's my auto load. So every time I'm using Logic, it opens up a project that I already made in the past. It's a special project, I call it my auto load. It automatically loads and has setup buses, usually reverbs, delays, a pan man, a decapitator, a chorus, and also guides for all of my drumming so that I don't have to do that every single time. So that's one of my #1 tips and advices. Have an auto load. It will just speed up your working process by a whole lot. The next step is then pretty easy, just picking the tempo in Logic. I just click in there, type in there 121 is a standard house kind of tempo. And with the BPM, there is no BPM you should use or start with or is best or will have a better result for your productions. In general, the slower a track, the more space you have in between of the kicks, so it might be easier to mix. The faster it gets, the harder, because everything is squeezed together. And for the faster music, you can definitely hear that it's usually a tiny bit simpler and the bass and kick is sidechained a lot more. With slower music, you don't have to do it, but definitely choose your tempo based on the style you're going for. So for example, for hip hop, a lot of classic old school hip hop stuff is 95 BPM. Then the funkier music is like 107 to 112. Tropical house, deep house starts at 112. Goes up to maybe 121, then 121, and the range around it is usually house, classic house music, tech house. Techno also starts there and goes up to maybe 130. Trance is usually actually 128. A lot of styles use 128. I think mostly because a lot of the Vengeance, the early Vengeance samples, they were all in 128 and people were just lazy, didn't change the tempo and just kept it. Big Room is also in that range, 120 plus minus 5 or 10 dB. Really, again, depends on the style, the sound you're going for. If you make something more chilled for like the beginning of a DJ set, go with something a little slower. If it's like peak time, the biggest banger, maybe 128, 130, and then like the speedier kinds of music, hardcore, and I don't know what else is coming there. It's really not my thing. It's then really fast. Future bass is a little special because it can be like in a half beat kind of tempo. So 145 isn't actually 145, it's like half of it. Or you could just take the half of it as a BPM and do the drum grid in a different way and kind of end up, those songs have basically 2 tempos depending on how you view it. All of this is really extremely basic, but the next time you start a new project, maybe already think about the BPM, maybe also change it, because a lot of producers set the BPM and then never ever change it again. And now with the new DAWs, it's so easy to change. Try out your track like 5 BPM faster or slower. It can change actually way more than you might think. And yes, there is a big difference if you just like use your Pioneer stuff and pitch it up and down, or if you do it directly in your DAW, it sounds different. There's a big change. Even if you set it here to not pitch, there is still a difference. So yeah, let me know about your favorite tempo, what you basically go for on every track. If you think every style has its tempo, there are a lot of styles that don't really have a tempo, where you just choose whatever you feel like. The last advice would be maybe just to not pick a tempo in between. So maybe 128.4 doesn't really make a whole lot of sense between one and the next BPM. There isn't such a big difference, and choosing something in between might just throw off DJs, because yeah, DJs nowadays usually don't know how to mix with records, so they're not used to beat match. They just look at their Pioneer mixer or Pioneer CDJ and it tells you the BPM. And if it's something strange, people might not mix it because it's too hard. So keep your BPM for the track. So keep your BPM at, for example, 128, and also don't change your BPM throughout the track. I know some tracks do it in classic music, but usually for club type of music, don't do it because it again throws off the DJ. You might do a track where the BPM changes in the break for effect and then have a separate BPM in the drop and a separate BPM for the intro. These type of tracks are often used by DJs that like to switch up their styles. For example, on the weekend dance fair that I attended, there was like Big Luke giving a masterclass how to actually go from one tempo to another if you have like a huge gap in between. And his advice, the easiest was to actually pick a track that changes the tempo so you can go from one style to another. He also explained a whole lot more how to do it, but that's, yeah, maybe it will be available online. I actually don't know. So for my track here, I will go with 117 for now at least. Build up the track and then think again about the BPM and maybe change it to make it fit to the style and the things that I'm going for. And yeah, just working on the track, building up the drums, the chords, maybe already recording a little bit of guitar or sample something. And then the second part of this video is then actually how to choose the right key for your song. Wasting time, trying to find some peace of mind. Feel so high, can't seem to get enough. All done with work. I have to be really careful with this thing right here. Still want to try it out and test it in the club where I'm DJing in just 1 week. And a new world record. I made 65 tracks in just 1 day. I've actually never been this fast. It's probably me trying to overcompensate the fact that I will be gaming a whole lot in the next couple of days. Sounds pretty good. Those are the vocal parts from yesterday that I recorded with the singer and songwriter. Unfortunately, I can't play it to you because I still have to get all of the business stuff sorted. And since in the next couple of days I will have to deal with that and the other song, I thought of something that we can do instead. It's basically me offering to mix one of your songs, so you can submit your songs. I will choose one and then mix it and do a video about it, so you personally learn how to mix it, everyone else as well, and you end up with a mix that will be hopefully better than what you submitted. So everyone is welcome to submit something. How to submit and everything coming up in tomorrow's video. Now let's actually get to the second part, and that is when you start out a song, choosing the right key. Again, here there is no rule, there is no key better than another. Usually if you know how a circle of fifths looks like this, then you stay usually in the upper part of it, just because it's easier. Most music is made in it because you have less of those symbols. I don't know how they're called in English, but like Vorzeichen. So a lot of music is written in A minor, C major, and those keys, as you know, they build up the tones that you can use within your track without making it sound really awkward. So for example, if you choose to make a track in C major, then you got all of the white keys available to play your melodies and build up your chords and have a song that in itself sounds good. You can switch it up to the parallel key in the chorus. A lot of pop songs do that, but for most electronic music, just stay in your key, don't switch it. It's something that is rarely done, maybe in experimental kinds of classic music if it's really long, but even then it's not really done a whole lot. And when it's time to choose a key, I would, if you're a beginner, just go with A minor, C major, because just the white keys, or just go with the black keys, the pentatonic. I explained it in another video, how to make music without knowing any music theory. I will link it up here if you're interested. So for me personally, whenever I choose the key, if I make a more pop influenced song with full vocals, then it's all about the vocal first. Usually when I do a session here in the studio with a singer and songwriter, I ask them what key they're good in, where the voice sounds the best. If they don't know, I just try it out with them, go through a couple of keys and they just jam along to it or sing other people's songs and we go from there. If you make more instrumental club music, or music like big room where you usually get the vocals after you made the instrumental, then I would actually go for a key that has a nice bass note. A bass note that fits good to your kick. So for example, if your kick is at like 50 Hertz, then G might be actually quite good because it will go with it. If you're wondering how to find out what key your kick is in, you will need this little plugin right here. It's called Span. It's an analyzer. If you go here into the frequency spectrum, it will show you down here the Hertz and also the note. So for example, 48 Hertz, right around 50 is G1. So in this case, kick and bass would have the same frequency, the same note, which is good. So they sound harmonic, do not clash. You could also go for an approach where they're separate but still belong to the same key, just to separate kick and bass even more than just by sidechaining and EQing. And this is really mostly just for electronic music that is heavily club based, where the bass is so important. So if you do something more poppy or maybe acoustic music, then yeah, just go with a key that sounds nice with the main element, the vocals if you have vocals, or maybe the guitar or the piano, because at the end that's more important than having a nice bass line. Also, every key has a different tone to it. The differences are slight, and for the normal human being and for pop music not really audible. Between major and minor it's a big one, everyone knows about that, but between A minor and C minor, it's I mean, for classic music it might be relevant. For pop and EDM, not really that much. If you're interested in this really nerdy music theory stuff, you can read it all on Wikipedia. Certain keys have certain tones to them, but really it's a slight difference. And now it's 6:30 and I have an appointment, a dinner with my lawyer, because as you might remember, I haven't talked a lot about it in the past couple of days. I still have this thing going on against that person that faked statements to rip me off and keep the money that my song actually made, which is something really sad, but hopefully in a couple of months this will be all solved and I can finally share the entire insights with you, because yeah, it's just making me angry. But anyways, that's it for today. I hope you liked today's episode. Really basic stuff, but sometimes knowing more about the basic stuff doesn't really hurt that much, and for beginners really important. And tomorrow coming up, everything about that mixing that I will do for one of you guys.
You're the only remedy. Show me the light that's in front of me. I don't feel guilty no more. Letting go would only kill me. We find our way dancing in the sun.